Dolor in Wisconsin?
That's very close, Jamie. You guys, I'm very impetuous. I'm glad I held on because I have a beautiful story to tell you guys.
Okay. All right.
My first name is actually Dolor, and it's pronounced the er sound, and it comes from the word dolorosa, the way of grief that Jesus walked. Very Catholic at one time in my life, young man. After reading the Bible many times, I went to Catholic high school as well.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I could never marry the Old Testament with the New, but yet there was concepts in the Pauline principle that I did believe in. However, I'm away from that. Here's what I am right now. I think that life is very linear, and death doesn't impede any of us. And the journey goes on from one to the next. And I'm a little bit nervous to tell you the story.
So hold on, before you go to the story, because you've described that you believe that life is very linear and that death does not impede any of us, if I've heard that correctly. And then you said it goes on from one to another. So just as a quick aside, in what way would death impede? You mean like it end, the conscious existence is what you're talking about?
Yeah, I think for you, Jamie, and your friend Andrew there, and I was hoping to get Matthew today, and I actually like your other comrade, Eric. You guys, when you two are together, he brings that, I guess, a sharp side, you bring a softer side. But here, wait, life doesn't end. It just goes on from one journey to the next.
From one journey to the next. Okay. So do you have a specific belief about the human journey as it continues after death?
Yes, I am not certain. Again, I'm a very limited man. I'm a simple man. But I do like math, and I am an accountant by trade. However, for me, Matt, I'm going to use Matt because he's the actual guy I wanted to speak to. No offense intended, guys.
Well,
because he's always looking for
you can't call in during his show as well. But I mean, is there an afterlife?
No, Jamie. I apologize if I offended you. I actually like you as well.
No, you're good. Particularly when I'm sitting behind this chair, it's I think possibly even harder to offend me than it is normally, even, which is also difficult, right? You are also not. You're not talking about how my existence or my love life is unnatural. There's very little you could do to offend me that was going to happen in this conversation. But is there? Sorry, just to get to the root of the thing here. Is there an afterlife?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yes. Can you describe it somewhat?
Well, wait a minute. First, for me to describe the story, I'm going to tell you what has transpired in my life. Again,
well, so before we get to that, because life, there's a better format for a life story with a conclusion, which is Reddit actually, because then I can read through and look at the details and better comprehend it. Mostly, I'm just trying to get to, you believe that there is an afterlife. Is it something like the Christian afterlife as preached from the pulpit?
No. There are some beautiful things in the Bible, but yet we know of the brutality, the viciousness, the violence, the
genocide,
slavery. But yet, there's always a verse I tell people, Genesis chapter 1, verse 28 to 31, about eating the greens and the seeds of the land. We wouldn't have the obesity problem, the diabetes problem, and the cancer problem if we follow that simple rule. Now, I think that's a beautiful phrase, among other things in the New Testament. But again, for every one I could list, I could tell you 15 vile ones that would make you puke, and I'm sure you guys are aware of it as well.
Yeah. That, and I don't have a barf bag with me, so let's...
You know what it is, Jamie? If we look in life, you have the 4 Ds: death, destruction, despair. And it
those are 3, and I think we can come up with better things.
Better things that exist in
life, love, friendship, good food.
Sitting next to Andrew Seidel.
Next to Jamie.
I would, excuse me, fellas, I would consider myself a humanitarian, absolutely. But first, before we get into me, please, I'll tell you a story. I was very close with my brother. He and I were the same mother and father, of course. He passed on. He had a heart attack. I'll set the stage for you. He was a wrestler in college, a power lifter, an arm wrestler, a boxer, a very big man.
He had presumably very large, arms.
Yeah, big weightlifter.
That would be quite the gun show to witness. But... So I'm sorry. Go ahead. So I just mean there is. we're beginning to approach
here.
what I call like the yellow zone of where the end of the show is for myself, because I have to start paying attention to it now. Otherwise, I'll go for another. I'm not cutting you off, and I'm not ending the call. But I'm trying to get
that because this will inspire your audience. And here, I'll tell you the quick story, but I don't want to make it quick. My brother passes on from a heart attack lifting weights. Ironic.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, well, no. Again, I've had many tragic events in my life. That would make anybody scoff about God. However, so I donated tissue and things to the Wisconsin Blood and Tissue Bank. And here's what happens. This is how it goes through. They first help the people in Wisconsin, and then if anybody doesn't need the parts donated, they go to the Midwest of the United States, then the United States, and then overseas.
Yeah.
So 5 years pass, and I get letters and phone calls from the Wisconsin Blood and Tissue Bank. They want to have a reunion, and people wanted to meet me.
Right.
And at that time, I was still suffering from my brother's loss. Please believe me. It's something I never got over. However, they wanted to know if they could forward me letters. Now I'm going to tell you about 3 of them from 3 different women, and I could provide them to you. I would redact probably their names, but the one woman had, I guess, her upper arm given the bone from my brother and tissue from the shoulder, and she wrote she's a very powerful woman, and she was very weak. And I'm thinking, oh my God, it's beautiful.
Well, sounds like she
I
got
can't woman.
Yeah, I'm glad that she got a shoulder.
Well, wait a minute. I'm not done on that.
I'm just saying.
Well, again, you could attribute it to having problems and then getting a new part. And then another woman, her leg strength was replaced. And my brother was a big squatter, big power lifter.
Yeah.
The third woman, and they are all women, she wrote back that she never craved or liked spaghetti or bread. And that was my brother's staple. Now, for you and anybody, is there a spiritual touch there?
I do not.
With my thing?
I haven't concluded that, but I would like to hear presumably what led you to that conclusion.
Oh my God! Again, I've had my divine encounters, and in listening to you and your other colleagues speaking, you always need empirical data. You need evidence. You need this and that. Now, this time we have handwritten testimonies from people.
Well,
I don't know if I should put it out, but would that be enough to?
Yeah.
What would that say to you about spirituality, Jamie? And Andrew, go ahead, Tiger.
It seems par for the course as far as things that people describe as spiritual and spirituality.
I'm also wondering.
Why would you say par for the course? Wait a minute. Pump the brakes here.
Well, can I ask you a question, Delore?
Yes, please go ahead, Tiger.
So you're saying you've said that there is an afterlife that people live on after their spirit.
Unequivocally to me.
Okay,
Andrew,
but you're also suggesting. Wait, hang on, because this is you're also suggesting that your brother's physical tissue and muscles and bones, which were implanted into other people, then also he is also living in them in some way, shape, or form. So is he not whole in the spiritual other realm? Or the next afterlife?
No, you have to remember the spiritual realm, the power of your source, your spirit, your heart, whatever anybody wants to attribute it or call it, his physical characteristics were left behind.
But you're not saying that the physical character, you're saying that his spirit was implanted into these 3 women, it sounds like.
Well, again, they picked up his characteristics in strength, arm strength, leg strength, and actually things that he ate as a food source.
So real quick, hold on.
How could anybody go ahead, Tiger.
He got one of them got a new part of his arm.
No,
I mean, of course they're stronger if they got new muscles.
Yeah.
And didn't have muscles that worked before.
That. So Andrew's question is good. So your brother exists on a plane somewhere in spiritual form.
Oh, absolutely.
But the physical characteristics that have been left behind in these women that you're saying, is that the result? Do you believe that that's the result of a spiritual force, or is that the result of the physical matter being
transferred to their body? The God of the universe? Absolutely.
So
unequivocally, Tiger.
So that wasn't my question. So my question was, do you believe that the traits that they acquired were acquired by supernatural means?
Absolutely.
Okay, so not
Absolutely.
the result of having new muscles and a new upper arm.
No, unequivocally, no.
Okay, so the other question I wanted to touch on is you said someone's spirit. Here, hold on real quick, Laura. One of the things that you said was a person's spirit or existence or the heart or whatever someone wants to attribute it to.
Yeah, their source, yes.
Yeah, their source. So you've said, their source, which can be whatever a person thinks of it. What is a person's source?
Absolutely. Yeah, again, I'll make that as a blanket statement to cover people who say the spirit, the soul, the Holy Ghost, whatever the hell they want to call it.
Okay, but does it exist in the heart, for example? Because you said heart, like the physical
your heart. Where people attribute their heart as their soul or the part that's going to see God, the supernatural force, I just call it a source to blanket and cover everyone else's things. But yes, unequivocally, Andrew and Jamie, and your audience out there, I'm a firm believer there is a God. Firm believer.
So can you describe a person's we'll say soul because it has you listed here as a person that believes in God. You've said you believe in God. I'm sort of operating that it's a Christian-y influenced God potentially because in part you live in the United States. Though they're not the Bible, but so it's not. You believe in a God, and in a moment I'm going to ask you more characteristics of your God. But right now, the way that you're talking about what I think many Christians would call a soul, although you're saying spirit, you've used the word source, spiritual source. The way that you're talking about this is the way that I would hear a person describing a metaphor rather than a fact about reality or existence. Do you believe that a person's spiritual source exists in reality?
Metaphor, Jamie, not to cut you off, Tiger. Again, you're implying that to me. But again, this is testimony from strangers I've never met.
Yeah, but they're not testifying that the soul is real.
Yeah.
And even if they were, that eyewitness testimony is not reliable in the slightest.
Andrew, pump the brakes here. Pump the brakes, Tiger. They're not testifying it to, but I can attribute it to the things that I do believe in.
Okay, but you see what you just did there. You see what you just did. You just said we have eyewitness testimony, and then you said they're not testifying to that. It's me. Did you catch what you just did there?
No. Yeah, I understood. You're kind of playing on my words to discredit me.
Well, I'm not trying to discredit you. We're trying to ask you questions so that you can really understand what you're saying.
No. I welcome it, please.
Yeah, we're not trying to catch you. We're not trying to get you in a cross-examination.
Gotcha questions.
Gotcha questions. Yeah. I'm trying to parse out your ideas here because the last thing that you said was I can attribute it to things that I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. Why?
And absolutely. Why?
Why would you attribute it to that?
God, it's very hard for me to qualify this or even quantify it for you. It's the majestic majesty of life itself.
So the majestic majesty of life as a phrase sounds like the description of a quality, of a quality of life. Like, life is good, right? Life is majestic, or it has a majesty to it. Is actually more a description of the way that you perceive life rather than life, for example, as defined in biology.
Or certainly anything.
You know what? But I'm going to pump the brakes and put a period on your sentence. I'm going to go back. I think I wanted to say death, disease, destruction, despair. And again, I understand that in life, and you could refute me, but it's beautiful things I told you. We could look at St. Jude's Hospital. I think 4.6 million. Wait a minute, Tiger. 4.6 million people die each month in the world. If you extrapolate that, it's about 60 million. It's not my facts. I get them from the World Health Organization.
I agree with you that there is a majestic majesty to life, although I would probably use different words to describe it. And I agree with you that people die, but I'm wondering why you would take these stories from these women and say, well, that is clearly the result of a soul.
Well, again, it piggybacks right onto my belief anyway.
Well, is that a good way of... So that makes sense, right? You come to beliefs now based on the beliefs that you already hold, but have you critically examined your belief in an afterlife and a soul?
Oh, absolutely. Now, wait a minute.
Okay.
You guys are putting the burden of evidence on me, and that's a beautiful thing. But now I'm going to ask for your interpretation of what I told you. And again, give it back to me.
I don't have one.
I mean, I think I have an interpretation. Whoa, kitty cat. So pump the brakes. Listen, the interpretation is that modern medicine is amazing. It is amazing, right? Science has advanced to the point where we can take tissue from your brother and put it into women whose arms need a new muscle, and they can use that arm. That is amazing. Science is amazing. That's the interpretation of it. It's simple. It's natural. It's reasoned and logical.
No.
If I wanted to, I could go learn that science and do that surgery myself at some point. I don't.
Humble brag.
Again, I've known other people, please, and I'm not qualifying anything I've told you, that have had transplants and tissues from other people. And again, they've never told me of any characteristics that they've taken on from the donor. Nothing's changed in their life with the ability to walk, the ability to pick things up.
Okay.
Now, I'm talking about the personal attributes my brother had have manifested themselves in other people.
So hold on,
We're talking about,
you gave the example that this doesn't always happen, and that in this instance you're aware that it has. Or rather, you are not always aware of this happening, but in this instance you are aware of,
yes,
we'll call this phenomena. What makes you attribute it to the supernatural, rather than medical science is excellent and some things we don't understand?
Yeah, again, you guys are great. I enjoy listening to you. Some of your conversations, some of them are very banal, but that's okay. We're not talking about that.
Well,
I need somebody.
You're talking about a woman liking spaghetti all of a sudden because your brother liked it. And let me tell you a story real quick. My nieces are told that they don't have to clear their plates of food, right? They just have to try everything, and they're told that because their tastes change, and they get so excited when they like something that they once didn't like because their taste changed. Now, to me, it is far more likely that this woman all of a sudden tried spaghetti and decided, hey, I like this. I don't know how old she was. We don't know. Then that there is some supernatural explanation for it. I mean, it is far more likely that that is the case than that there is this supernatural explanation, right? Can you agree to that?
No, I disagree with that.
Okay, you think the supernatural explanation is more likely.
In the letter written by this woman to me, she told me she never like spaghetti or bread. She stayed away from carbohydrates for weight. I didn't want to bring that out there. And again, here we go.
Wait,
how do you attribute that?
I don't have a conclusion about that. There's a hypothesis from my friend Andrew here.
Just throwing out a possibility.
A possibility has been thrown out. You've suggested that it's the result of a soul. So if it was the result of a soul, wouldn't you expect to see this in everyone that receives a transplant?
I don't know, James. You could actually hit me back and say, hey, what about the children at St. Jude's Hospital or any hospital that die every day? I can't account for that. But I can account whatever was something will always be something. It doesn't end. That casket is not cold and black. This line is linear and it goes straight, and death is not an impediment. You keep going on. Unequivocally.
Okay, so... yeah. So believe it or not, we're actually we're coming up on the end of the show. I've got.
No, wait a minute. I feel jilted here, you guys.
Hey, hold on. Slow your roll, Daddy-O. Hold on. Wait, I got you, because I don't want this to be the last time we talk. Right.
No. I have more to add to this. And
no, I know, but I want you to among other things, call back so that we can hold on. Hey. Whoa.
I will absolutely call back.
Oh,
absolutely.
Excellent.
I have
awesome.
much more to tell.
And email, and if you can bring yourself to use Reddit or you need instructions through email, I can provide that. But there's a couple more calls I want to get to, and we're coming up on the end.
If you would like, I could. Wait a minute, Jamie. Wait a minute. You guys get ahead of yourself. Would you guys like
it is his show.
Yeah,
I mean, it is his show.
I understand you guys are the host, but I waited a long time, and I do feel jilted. And I think that one man, I think it's 2 callers ahead of me, the fourth state of matter is plasma. He's looking, because metal can be liquid. So it's on all planets. So.
I mean, metal can be liquid, plasma, solid, gaseous, or Bose-Einstein concentrate. But yeah. Go ahead. Next week will be Eric, and I'm sure he will probably take your call as well. But the week after that, it will be me again, and I would like you to call back. That's actually, if you watch through the shows, I hadn't really thought about it, but it's not something that I necessarily say to every caller, and I am saying it to you. So hopefully that helps you feel less jilted.
Oh, okay, absolutely. I'm calling you guys back. I'm loaded for bear. I have much more to say. Hopefully, I can actually pull you guys over.
I thought you were loaded for tiger.
Side, and then you guys won't have to worry. Metaphorically.
Yeah. Why worry?
I'm not worried.
I appreciate it. Andrew, I appreciated talking to you and dialoguing with you and Jamie.
It was a pleasure.
And next week I'll get somebody. I actually, don't be mad. I wanted some of your heavy hitters. I wanted Matt today. But I actually like... I like the guy.
Yeah. I think that if you call into the Atheist Experience, it's possible that Matt will take your show, take your call, but it's also possible that he may not. Because this tends to be the conversation that I prefer more than Matt. But thank you for calling in, and I look forward to the rest of our conversation and our interactions, Delora. Thank you. Matt has given